heart is function, not the lungs. If you want to monitor only the heart function, single wavelength infrared or red is good enough. But if you are looking at the oxygen content, then you require two wavelengths, red and infrared. If you want to look at the oxygen, carbon dioxide and other gases, yes, you require 8 wavelengths. So today, what is available is 8 wavelength oximetry. Should I say colorimetry or spectrometry, by which you can find out the content of the gases in your blood stream, whether it could be carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, it could be oxygen, it could be anything else. And one of the reasons you have to be very careful about carbon monoxide is that you can get poisoned because of the excess of carbon monoxide, especially in a cars like in the US, you've got a cars with an AC. When you put that AC on, you have more of carbon dioxide, and even the carbon monoxide can increase its presence there. You have deaths because of that. Okay.
And also, now you measured the oxygen level on the finger. Did you consider measuring that in other places, maybe like a forehead?
Okay, good question. The highest sensitivity is available at the earlobe here. Yeah, because there is no bone mass here. But if you don't want to put that on the earlobe, because if you are doing a neonatal monitoring, then I would rather put it on the forehead here. You can put it like a bandage, and you can have everything inside. The adults can wear from the ear or a wrist. You can also get a wrist type wearable transistors.
But that would require different adjustments in terms of sensors, right? Like
no, the wavelengths are the same. The physical adjustment, the adjustment of the sensors would, like for example, you can have two types of, again, you can have reflective type or you can have transmission type. In a reflective type, it is easy. On the forehead, you don't have transmission type, you have the reflective type. Right. Here, you have got a transmitter type. And on the wrist also, you can have a transmission type.
And apart from like these OEM manufacturers like Nonin or Nelco, like do you have any other specs? Is there any different kind of model which you are implementing?
Yeah, I'm going to implement this.
Okay, and like
otherwise, your first question was, so many manufacturers are there on mobile phones. Why do I have to design one more one more pulse oximeter? Yes, I'm looking at the different aspects. But there are certain information which is embedded in the waveform that you get in the Blench's graph, which also tells you something beyond the oxygen level and the gases composition. It is that part which I'm trying to tackle. At this point of time, I don't want to spell it out. Yeah. Anything else? I mean, as I said, these type of ideas would definitely make me think in a different direction and look at what information I can extract from the information which I'm deriving from my transistor. Yeah. I would request some of the senior faculty members here to put their experience and ask me some questions. At least that will be initiate some different discussion.
I guess maybe people will stay on and talk to you later.
Great. I'm there till tomorrow evening, so we can always.
At this point, maybe.
Yeah, let's go ahead with the presentation.
Yeah, because 2 o'clock, I think people will have to go back to work, whatever they have planned for.
It's 1:30 now.
Yeah, about 25 more minutes so that we can.
Okay, fine. Let's get ready. Yeah. Okay, let me just summarize this by saying what sort of an intellectual sort of experience, I would not say experience, the assets that you must have with you in order to work on such projects. You have to be a good biochemist to understand how the hemoglobin interacts with the oxygen and how you get back and how the dissociation takes place. Again, like hemoglobin will interact with oxygen to form hemoglobin oxide, the oxyhemoglobin or the reduced hemoglobin, and you must get back the free hemoglobin again so that it is available for the next flow of blood into your periphery. So dissociation of this reaction, the chemical action for forming a hemoglobin oxide and going back to the hemoglobin and reducing carbon dioxide. So this is part of the biochemistry. Then you have to understand the sensors technology very well. So you need to be a good physics person. Then you have to be a good electronics designer to design the detecting systems. You have to be a good embedded system designer to know what is the requirement of an embedded system. And last, we summarize, you have to be a good kisser. KISSER. Now, K stands for keep, I stands for interrupt, S stands for service, routine, small. So one of the big, requirement of any embedded system designer is he should be able to kiss well. That means keep, interrupt, service, routine, small. You will find that in day-to-day life, if you allow the interrupt to take valuable time of yours, you're going to make a mess of it. That's why on your mobile phone, if you're busy, you reject a call, sends a message to the person that you are busy and he can call him later on. What have you done? You have serviced the interrupt, but you have taken the minimum amount of time to service that interrupt. You are not ignoring that. Okay? That's it. This is a statement by Jan Axelson, who says, in order to be a good embedded system designer, you should be able to kiss well. Okay, fine. Let me go to the topic now. Can I get some help for the presentation? We'll start with the first. Oh, already is there. I just want to move forward. Do you have a remote? Yes. Okay, fine. Now, you forgive me because this is the type of when the scanning was done, they didn't do proper vertical alignment. So this is a range of compact. You have these are the tabletop models. We have got LCD screens, and it develops. Sorry, can I get a pointer? This is a pointer.
I can move it around.
Okay, fine. So on the three models, on the right hand side you will find there are two numbers. One is 99, another is something like 87. I'm not able to see it. You can see on the screen. The right corner is the white one. There are two numbers which are being displayed. 99 is normally the oxygen saturation level which is displayed there. And below that is your pulse rate which is shown. And the reason I made a statement is the heart rate and pulse rate are normally same, but they need not be the same. You can verify that yourself. You can put a pressure on this finger here, and you will find your pulse rate will become 0. So critically you are dead, but your heart is pumping. And if you do that for a longer time, you are going to end up in having a gangrene. You have to chop off your finger because you have not allowed the oxygen to flow into the finger. Okay. So pulse rate and heart rate are normally same, but they need not be same in certain conditions, like when you put your blood pressure monitoring instrument onto your this cuff here, you will not find any blood flowing down. Okay, move next. Yeah, so sorry, let's look at this feature. That's got a high resolution active LCD display. Now this LCD display at times is a multi-layer LCD display because one layer is used for graphics and another is for text. Okay. Then it's a backlit, so you don't have to. You can work it in the dark space also. A large digital display parameters, so you don't want to see a small alphanumeric character. So the method of using that character generation is by graphic method and not by the ASCII code. You don't use ASCII code. You got a three modes of operation: adult, pediatric, and neonatal. Okay. Adults like people like us, and neonatal babies are the early born babies where you don't have really can't take a risk with them. So they have some specially designed sensors for them, and they are disposable sensors. They are not reusable. Then we have 24 hours graphical train, which is non-volatile, it's menu driven, fine. Then extremely lightweight, grey colored coded alarms are there. Like if you are in condition, if the oxygen level comes to below 90%, you are almost marching towards death. Because if the oxygen level goes to 86, 85, and stays for more than 5 minutes, you're going to be dead because of lack of oxygen. It happens many places. Then you have critical alarm summary, then auto setting of alarms, then inbuilt, all these things are all these are essential things. And marking of data for selective printing, like certain portion of the time frame or certain event driven, if you just want to say, then it can mark and it can generate auto triggers on its own. But these are very expensive instruments. Like you can get pulse oximeter for as low as for $10, which is just fingertip without a graph. You get a pulse rate on the oxygen content. But if you want graphs and you want further intelligence into it, then sky is the limit. I have seen pulse oximeters being sold at something like about 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs rupees, converted into equivalent dollars by dividing by 45. And if it's a R&D, yes, there is no constraint on the price. HP gold standard would run into few lakhs of dollars. Or equivalent. Okay, next one.
And the sensor is in the
Sorry,
device,
yeah,
right?
sorry, one minute. This is you can see this. I would have missed the pointer there. I can come here and show. This is the plethysmograph you can see here. This is the SpO2, that is the oxygen content. This is your heart rate. Then you have one bar graph which is telling you the signal strength, and there is also one more parameter which is called perfusion level. How freely the blood is flowing inside your fingertip. So perfusion level, signal strength, oxygen level, the bar graph, so many parameters can be extracted. And beyond that, the shape of this waveform the rising time, fall time also has certain information, which today pulse oximeters don't provide. If you add that, you get another parameter which can be displayed. And the last thing which I want to design, and that will be my ultimate thing, is to control, not monitor the pulse oximeter, but control the oxygen level in one's blood by providing him the artificial oxygen whenever he needs it, and removing the oxygen if it's excess. Remember that if the excess oxygen can also cause a death. Ideally speaking, your oxygen level should vary between 98 to 100, 101. I mean 100 to be more precise. It can go beyond that also. It can fall below 80, up to 85 it's almost dead at 86, 87. If it goes beyond 100, you are talking about a condition where there is excess oxygen. And that is harmful, equally harmful for. So as you said, anything in excess is bad. Anything in excess, alcohol in excess is bad, alcohol not taking also is bad. Things of that kind. So one of the major applications for the defense industry is that whenever whenever the fighter aircraft hits a target, imagine it is coming from a height of something about 5 to 6 kilometers and coming down to a height of 100 meters and hitting a target accurately and then going back. So it's almost coming down and going in this direction. You can see that if it's a commercial airline, your oxygen content is maintained. But if it's a fighter aircraft, you don't have that capabilities of having a environment which is controlled. So what happens? There is a mask provided to the aircraft fighter pilot, and in that the oxygen is introduced. Now when he is on the